Carlos Takam. I'm rocking with Lady Shaw in the building.
In the building. Ra, 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 ra.
Ra, 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 ra.
Hey guys. Well. Joyce gets defeated and maybe his career is left the boot. So, Philippe Hrgovic beats Joyce in a unanimous points decision. So my prediction on this fight was initially for Philippe Hrgovic to beat Joyce. I thought it was going to be via points. Possible stoppage, but I thought via points. Now, that fight was a very close fight. And what I want to say is that the reason that I picked Philippe Hrgovic, because if it was Joyce against Dillian Whyte, who it was supposed to be, Philippe Hrgovic came in on a 5-week camp, did very well under a 5-week camp. I would have picked Joyce to beat Dillian Whyte. As soon as I heard that it was Philippe Hrgovic, I was like, oh no. And shouts out to Joyce. He never ducks no smoke. He didn't have to take the Zhilei Zhang fight. He was an interim champ and could have just waited and fought, whoever the winner, and Anthony Joshua, or I think it was for Usyk at that specific time. And he got knocked out by Zhilei Zhang, and he did the rematch and got stopped again. So Joyce doesn't duck smoke. He didn't have to do. He could have said no. The Philippe Hrgovic is totally a different fighter than Dillian Whyte. Now listen, Joyce came in looking very nice. I'm not sure what he weighed in, but heavyweight boxers, they don't need to make weight, but there's always an optimum weight, and whatever that weight was for Joyce, that looks like more of an optimum weight. Have you noticed he doesn't do that capoeira flip anymore? I just don't think he's able to physically do it. He used to do that after every fight, doesn't do it at all. The capoeira's left the ball dizzy. So Joyce, what I knew would happen, as we saw, Philippe Hrgovic is really great with that right hand, and we saw Daniel Dubois get right hand after right hand after right hand after right hand when he fought, but Daniel Dubois pulled through, and he actually stopped Philippe Hrgovic with a lot of damage to Hrgovic's face and eye. Now again, in this fight, Hrgovic actually suffered a cut to his left eye, and he looked a bloody mess. But what I knew what would happen is that right hand would find its way right home to Joyce, and that's why I picked Philippe Hrgovic to win. Joyce, I'll tell you the improvements. He did say that he was training to keep his head off the line, and I saw that at times, and he had more agility. Philippe Hrgovic's hand speed is a little faster, as we know, than Joyce's, but Joyce tried to keep up the pace, and Joyce stalked Hrgovic. She stalked him and literally was breaking him down. And I thought, my prediction is probably going to be right. It's a wrong prediction. It's a wrong building. Someone lead me to the right building. It's a confused building. All right, the confusion has left the building. As I was saying, so, I mean, Joyce, to me, was outperforming Philippe. But then they started to even off, and it was a great fight. It was slugfest. Bang, bang, bang. Joyce started to get caught real flush. Philippe Hrgovic had really good success with that overhand right, which Joe couldn't avoid. He always got clapped with it. Philippe Hrgovic landed the most power shots. Joyce just wasn't as flush on Hrgovic, but when he tapped him up in the corner, there was some good shots there, some good combos. You have to remember, Joyce is a silver Olympian, should have been gold, and Philippe Hrgovic is a bronze Olympian. And Joyce, just like Anthony Joshua, had beaten Philippe Hrgovic in the Amis. So now you see the difference. Just because you beat someone in the Amis doesn't mean you're necessarily going to beat them in the pros. So, So basically, Hrgovic also hit Joe with some great shot selection. The left hook, the overhand right, the straight right, the 1-2s, the shots to the body, the hooks to the bodies. Joe return fire though with hooks to the body, some great combos that Joe fired off. Now listen, what I don't really like about Filip Hrgovic, he's a rabbit puncher. He kept punching Joe at the back of his head, and I don't like fighters like that. Now Hrgovic seemed like he fought better under Abel Sanchez, who is Joe Joyce's old trainer. So that showed me that he had improved under Abel Sanchez, Hrgovic, because he didn't look that great under Uncle Ronnie Shields. He didn't. So I guess Abel Sanchez could obviously tell Filip Hrgovic in training camp the drills that they worked on was Joe Joyce's weaknesses. Is that and Joe did try to take his head off the line, but I mean, it's not something that's going to be easily implemented if you've gone your whole career literally walking through shots. And he did walk through shots. But when you're walking through shots, you also have to return fire flush. And although some of the shots were really effective, both men got hurt and buzzed multiple times within that fight. It was dizzy, dizzy. Ooh. When it's dizzy, it's nausea. It's sick building. But anyway, yeah, spinning around and around, they got buzzed. But ultimately, Filip Hrgovic, I could have still had it a draw, maybe with a Filip Hrgovic edge. But a draw could have been suffice. Because there were some close rounds, man. One would take the lead and one would close better and vice versa, So, I mean, they both done very well. But I was impressed with Joe Joyce. I'm not going to lie. I'm not that impressed with Filip Hrgovic as a whole. I think he's lost his momentum. He was deemed as going to be one of the great prospects. I even had him as a good prospect to come in 2020. He just hasn't really... Let's see what he does. Maybe he may be a better contender for world level now. I mean, who knows? But, I mean, his conditioning in the fight, no bueno. But Joe Joyce's, yes, bueno. And that's all, really. I mean, they threw punches in bunches in slow-mo and whatever tempo that they threw him in, It was a good fight to watch. I'm just trying to think what else. Joe Joyce, don't retire. That's what I was going to say. There's many a fight for you. Now, sometimes not everybody's elite. That's why it's called elite. Because if everybody was elite, there wouldn't be an elite. So, not everyone's sometimes world level. I think that Joe Joyce could still win a world championship. Once the current lineup disappears, like maybe the Usyks, the Anthony Joshua's, because Joe Joyce got a bit fast and gassed when he said he was number 3 heavyweight, and everybody, and then he got mashed up. That was after Joseph Parker, but then when he got mashed up and broke up by Zhang, everybody was like, okay, maybe not, we got it wrong. Our predictions have left. Sometimes you don't jump on a bandwagon and be like, that's what we do. Well, he beat that one. No, now he's definitely number 2 because we got to see the fights. But Joe Joyce, he could reside and get into some really good fights. You could have Joyce Miller, you could have Joyce Wardley, you could have... But what we don't want to see is Joe Joyce getting battered. And if it seems that he's taking too much punishment, he hasn't had a long pro career. He's 20-plus fights. And, I mean, I wouldn't want to see him damaged. So, if he's not going to be able to win against these big punchers and just get knocked out, I don't recommend it. I'd be like, hang him up. But in general, what he showed didn't show that he needs to retire. Like I said, there's many a fight. He can get on some Riyadh season cards for sure. We could have Joe Joyce versus who was that big guy? I forgot his name. And he got stopped by Ajit Kabayel. His name's evaded me. You guys, can you please leave it in the comments?
2 days later.
Makhmudov. Arsen Makhmudov. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Joe Joyce against him. I would say Joe Joyce could beat him. I would say Joe Joyce could stop him. Joyce versus Adit Caballero. That'd be a tough one for Joyce. Adit is strong and also a mover. The body shots, I don't know if Joyce could handle them, but Joyce's chin held up a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of corrosion in there since getting stopped twice, and you know the walking through shots after a while that doesn't fare well. But against Filip Hrgovic, who's not known as a massive puncher, but he's not far from pillow fisted. It's respectable power for sure. Joyce seemed to be able to handle that. I'm not sure where Joyce is ranked in, and when after the fight, you know, Frank Warren came into the ring and he was like, gave Joyce some plaudits. He was like, basically, if you want to call it a day, it's up to you. And if there's more you want to do, we can get that done. But I hope Frank keeps him. But I don't know. On the business side, is it worth keeping Joyce? Is it not? But like I said, I think there's plenty of fights that Joyce could still be in, even at the age of 39, because he's had a really short pro career. But yeah, his amateur career, Joyce is a good boxer. He's just slow and a bit cumbersome, but that's never going to change. And I mean, so was the late George Foreman. You know, he was slow, but very powerful. So I think Joyce could do something more. He's got something more to give to the game. Now, Mr. Hrgovic, I don't know. Well, he is the, what was it? Was it the BO? Interim. So I mean, he'll be able to fight. He'll be mandated to fight whoever. Usyk's going to drop them belts, and then you know there'll be a vacant belt, and I guess he could fight for one of them, and you know you could get Dubois versus Hrgovic rematch. You never know. You never know. The way the world of boxing is going at the minute, it's very unpredictable. It's predictably unpredictable. Yeah, unpredictable. Dun, dun. Yeah, we'll change it to unpredictable. Because the game is unbelievable too. Yeah, I think that was a great fight. Shouts out to them, to two warriors, because that's what they are. You know, they put their neck and life on a neck on a limb. Their neck on a limb, yeah, and their lives on the line, limbs and lines. I was totally excited and animated and shouting at the screen with the card. It was a decent card, man. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, you get him, tuck him in. I was like, yeah, I was fully invested. Those that watch my lives when I call these fights live, you know my investment in it's an invested build. Stocks and shares builders. Joyce, are you leaving the builders? Hrgovic is in the builders. So yeah, shouts out to the two warriors and congratulations to Filip Hrgovic. He is now the WBO, not the WBA. I could have got it wrong, but I think it's the WBO interim champion of the world. Condolences, commiserations to Joe the Juggernaut Joyce. Don't be disheartened. You can reload and come back again. Select. Anyway, I'm gone. From me to you, from you to me. Ew dares, Rodders. Ew dares. How you girl? It's Leah, the Shan rep nonetheless. Come box with Shan. Gyan! Ra! Shan. Oh, I left the booties in. Not really. Joyce's career maybe have left the booties in. Gyan!